Now we will be learning about the second method of measuring the method of dispersion, and that is the quartile deviation. First one was range and this is the second one, quartile deviation. When we have to find out the quartile deviation, it is in fact the difference between the third quartile and the first quartile. That is called as the interquartile. So, a quartile deviation is quartile 3 minus quartile 1. Now, again to explain this further, we will take a series comprising of 11 observations and their numbers shall be ranging from 10 to 60. That means I have to find out, if I have to find out the quartile deviation, I will have to first of all find out the third quartile and the first quartile. So, the third quartile, when we try and find out, it is Q1. If I am trying to find out, it is number of observation plus 1 upon 4, which means 11 observation plus 12 plus 1 upon 4. And this is the third item. Which is the third item here? 1, 2, 3, which means 20. Now, let me find out the third quartile. The third quartile will be 3 number of observation plus 1 upon 4, which means 3, 11 plus 1 upon 4, which means the ninth item. When I have to find out the ninth item, it is 50. So, I have both the third item and the first item, which is 20 and 50. So, it is very easy for me to find out the quartile deviation. The quartile deviation here will be simple, Q3 minus Q1 upon 2, which means 50 minus 20 upon 2, which is 15. So, the quartile deviation of the series comprising of 11 observation from 10 to 60 is 15 by taking up the formula of Q3 minus Q1. Now, there is another, that is we have to find out in relative terms, and when we try to find out the coefficient of the quartile deviation, the formula is Q3 minus Q1 upon Q3 plus Q1, and we already know both the Q1 and the Q3, which is 50 and 20. So, 50 minus 20 upon 50 plus 20 gives me 30 upon 70, coming to 0.43. So, this was the second method of measuring the measure of dispersion, and which is the quartile deviation. So, you have learnt the range and you have learned the quartile deviation, both the coefficient of range and the quartile deviation and the coefficient of quartile deviation. You just need to learn the formula properly, and for this, remember, it is just that you have to know the Q3 and the Q1 upon, and here it is the formula comprising of Q3 minus Q1 upon 2, and when we have to find out the coefficient, it is Q3 minus Q1 upon Q3 plus Q1, giving us both the coefficient of quartile deviation and the quartile deviation itself. In the third clipping, I shall be teaching you the third method of measuring the measures of dispersion.